Do not move away from this message too quickly, because something has been trying to reach your spirit for longer than you realize. There is a reason your eyes landed here at this exact moment. Not yesterday. Not an hour from now. Now. And before your mind tries to dismiss this as coincidence, listen carefully, because someone has been carrying your name inside their heart with a kind of intensity they themselves do not fully understand. They tried to hide it. They tried to reason with it. They tried to convince themselves that what they feel for you would fade with time. But instead, it grew, quietly, dangerously, beautifully. You think you have gone unnoticed, but heaven has watched every silent battle you fought when no one clapped for you, every night you stayed strong while your soul felt exhausted, every moment you chose kindness when bitterness would have been easier. And that is exactly what changed everything. The person I am speaking about did not fall in love with you because of perfection, not because of your face alone, not because of status, not because of attention. No. They fell because of something you did without even realizing someone was watching. You showed mercy when your heart was wounded. You remained gentle after being disappointed. You carried pain without becoming cruel. And somewhere in the middle of your ordinary moments, someone saw the light inside you. That light reached them before your words ever did. Pause for a moment and let that settle inside your spirit. Because what is unfolding behind the scenes is far deeper than attraction. This is the kind of connection that unsettles people, the kind that interrupts sleep, the kind that makes someone replay conversations in the dark while the whole world is quiet. And child, they are doing exactly that. Even now, you may think they have forgotten you. You may think distance erased what existed between you. But what you do not see is that your energy stayed with them after you left the room, after the call ended, after the message stopped, after the silence came. That is why this feeling keeps returning to them like a wave they cannot outrun. There is something haunting them, but not in fear, in longing, because your absence created a space nothing else has been able to fill. Listen closely now. This next part matters more than you know. The reason this connection became so powerful was not because you chased them, it was because you stopped forcing people to love you. The moment you began protecting your peace instead of begging for validation, your spirit changed. You became calmer, more mysterious, more magnetic. And they noticed. Oh yes, they noticed immediately. Not outwardly at first. No, they acted normal, pretended not to care, continued their routines, smiled in front of others. But internally, something shifted. They started comparing everyone to you. Every conversation felt emptier. Every interaction felt thinner. Because once someone experiences a soul that carries depth, shallow connections begin to feel unbearable. And that realization terrified them. There is a scene replaying inside their mind over and over again. A small moment. Something you probably forgot already. Maybe it was the way you listened when they spoke. Maybe it was the way your eyes softened when they were struggling. Maybe it was the way you stayed calm when everyone else became loud. Whatever it was, that single moment reached deeper into them than they ever admitted. Sometimes people fall in love loudly, but this person, they fell silently, inwardly, secretly, like rain sinking into the earth at night. And the strangest part is this. They were not expecting you. They had convinced themselves they were emotionally unavailable, too guarded, too damaged, too distracted. Yet somehow your presence bypassed every wall they built. You entered their spirit gently, and that gentleness became unforgettable. Child, there are nights when they stare at the ceiling asking themselves why your name still affects them this way, why your absence feels heavier than it should, why hearing even a small thing about you changes their entire mood. They do not tell others this. They hide it carefully. but heaven sees the truth behind closed doors. And tonight, heaven is revealing it to you little by little because time is moving faster now. Something is approaching, something emotional, something neither of you can avoid forever. But before that moment arrives, you must understand why this connection was allowed to enter your life in the first place. It was never only about romance. It was about awakening. You changed this person spiritually without trying. Do you understand how rare that is? Most people meet and exchange attention, but very few exchange transformation. You transformed the way they think, the way they feel, the way they see love itself. Before you, they believed affection was performance, temporary, transactional, but then they encountered your soul. And suddenly love began feeling sacred again. That frightened them more than they expected. Because real love forces hidden wounds to rise to the surface. And child, they have wounds. Deep ones. Old disappointments. Betrayals they never fully healed from. Memories they buried beneath distraction. But your energy touched those hidden places without even knowing where they were. That is why they became inconsistent sometimes, hot and cold, close and distant, certain and confused. You thought they were losing interest, but the truth is, they were losing control. And there is a difference. Pay attention now because what I am about to reveal explains everything. This person started realizing they cared about you during a moment you were not even trying to impress them, not during some perfect scene. Not during some dramatic declaration. It happened quietly, unexpectedly. You were simply being yourself. And that authenticity pierced through their defenses more powerfully than any performance ever could. They saw purity in you. Not innocence. Purity. There is a difference. Purity is when someone has suffered, but still chooses softness. That is what captured them. Your resilience. Your emotional depth, your ability to survive disappointment without becoming emotionally empty. Child, do you know how many people become cold after pain? How many lose faith? How many stop believing in love completely? But you, even after heartbreak, even after betrayal, even after nights when your chest felt heavy with sadness, you still carried warmth, and they felt it. They still feel it, even now, especially now, because lately, your absence has become louder inside their spirit than your presence ever was. That is the part they cannot explain. The silence between you was supposed to make feelings disappear. Instead it intensified them, and this has created an emotional storm inside them they can barely contain. There are moments they reach for their phone just to see your name. Moments they type messages and erase them. Moments they wonder if you still think about them too. Moments they imagine what would happen if they finally confessed everything they have been hiding. But fear keeps interrupting them. Fear of rejection. Fear of vulnerability. Fear that they waited too long. And yet, no matter how much they resist, your energy keeps returning to their heart like a calling they cannot silence. Listen carefully. This next revelation is not accidental. Someone around them already knows how deeply they feel about you. Yes, they tried to keep it hidden, but love changes behavior. People notice. A friend noticed the way your name affects their face. A family member sensed emotional attachment they could not explain. Someone close to them realized there is one person they cannot emotionally detach from. You. And once that realization spread, questions began forming. Conversations began happening behind your back. Not malicious conversations. Concerned ones. Curious ones. Because the people around them have never seen them emotionally affected like this before. There is one particular conversation that still echoes inside their mind. Someone asked them directly, Why do you care so much about this person? And child. They froze, because for the first time, they had no logical answer, only feeling, only emotion, only the terrifying truth that your soul had become important to them in ways they never planned for. You must understand something deeply important now. This connection did not happen randomly. There are people who enter your life to entertain you. Others enter to teach painful lessons. But sometimes, very rarely, someone enters your life to mirror the parts of your soul that were waiting to awaken. That is why this feels bigger than ordinary attraction. Because it is. And lately, signs have been intensifying around them. Songs reminding them of you. Dreams involving you. Unexpected memories surfacing at strange times. Your name appearing when they least expect it. These things may sound small to others, but to them they feel almost supernatural. As if something refuses to let them forget you. Because heaven keeps placing your energy in front of them. Again, and again, and again. Not to torment them, but to awaken honesty. There is a confession trapped inside their chest. A truth they have delayed speaking. A feeling growing too large to continue hiding. And child. The closer they get to admitting it, the more emotionally overwhelmed they become. You may have sensed this already. Perhaps lately you felt unusual emotional waves. Restlessness. Random thoughts about them. Sudden emotional heaviness at night. That is because spiritual connections speak before human words do. Souls recognize each other long before people understand what is happening. And right now, their soul is reaching toward yours more intensely than ever before. But there is another layer to this story you still do not know. A hidden reason this person became obsessed with your energy. Something they witnessed. Something you did during one of your lowest moments. You thought nobody noticed it. You thought you were alone. But they saw enough to realize something extraordinary about you. And once they saw it, there was no returning to emotional distance again. Because in a world filled with masks, they encountered someone real. Someone whose heart remained alive after suffering. Someone who did not weaponize pain against others. That moved them deeply. Far more deeply than they admitted. Child, they have met attractive people before. They have met interesting people before. But they have not met many souls who feel safe. You feel safe to them. Not safe in a boring way. Safe in a sacred way. The kind of safety that makes someone want to rest their exhausted spirit beside yours. And do you know why this matters so much? Because people who have been emotionally wounded for years do not easily trust peace when they finally encounter it. At first they resist it, question it, pull away from it. That is exactly what happened here. Their inconsistency was never proof you lacked value. It was proof they were terrified of how much value you carried. There were moments they almost confessed everything. Moments they almost reached out. Moments they almost told you how strongly you affected them. But each time fear interrupted the truth. Still, emotions suppressed do not disappear. They grow, quietly, until eventually they become impossible to hide. And child, that moment is approaching faster than either of you realize. Something is shifting in their heart recently. A realization. A breaking point. They are beginning to understand that losing you would create a regret they may carry for years. That realization has started haunting them. Especially at night. Especially when they are alone. Especially when distractions disappear and the truth finally becomes loud. There is one memory in particular they cannot escape. a moment involving your voice, your presence, your kindness. They revisit it constantly, and every time they do, the feeling intensifies instead of fading. That is how they knew this was no temporary emotion. Temporary feelings weaken with time. Real feelings deepen in silence. And theirs have deepened more than you can imagine. But do not misunderstand this message. This is not only about them. This is also about you. Because heaven has been preparing your spirit too. You have been learning how to stop abandoning yourself for people who refuse to choose you properly. You have been learning how to protect your energy, how to walk away from confusion, how to recognize your worth even when others fail to acknowledge it. Those lessons were painful, but necessary, because the version of you standing here now carries a different energy than before, stronger, wiser, more discerning. And that transformation is exactly what intensified their emotions toward you. The moment you stopped chasing, they started fearing loss. The moment you became quieter, they started listening harder. The moment you chose yourself, they started realizing your value. That is why this story is reaching a turning point now. A dangerous turning point. Because someone who keeps suppressing love eventually reaches emotional overflow. And child, they are very close to that edge, closer than you know. There are words sitting unsent inside their phone right now, confessions hidden behind casual conversations, emotions disguised as jokes, longing buried beneath silence. But silence cannot hold truth forever, especially not this kind of truth. Something is pushing this connection toward revelation. And what happens next may change both of your lives in ways neither of you expected. But before that unfolds, there is something you must hear carefully. Do not let fear convince you that you are hard to love. Do not let past disappointments rewrite your identity, because the very qualities that made others misunderstand you became the exact reason someone fell deeply in love with you. Your softness, your depth, your sincerity, your emotional intelligence, your resilience, everything you thought people overlooked, someone cherished in silence. Someone studied carefully. Someone replayed endlessly in their mind. And child, they are reaching a moment where pretending no longer works. A moment where their heart may finally overpower their fear. But there is one final truth I must reveal before this message ends. A truth that explains why heaven brought you here tonight. Because within the next phase of this connection, something unexpected will happen. Something emotional. Something neither of you are fully prepared for. A conversation. A confession. A sudden shift. I see movement approaching around this bond. One see hidden feelings rising to the surface. I see someone standing at the edge of vulnerability, terrified, but unable to walk away any longer. And when that moment arrives, you will finally understand why every delay happened, why every silence mattered, why this connection kept surviving distance, confusion, and time itself. But child, there is still one secret they have not told you, one truth even deeper than love, and when it finally comes out, it will explain why they have been watching you from afar, why your energy unsettles them so deeply, and why they believe meeting you was never an accident at all. But that revelation has not arrived yet. My beloved child, wait a little longer before you dismiss what your spirit has already begun to feel, because the silence surrounding this connection is not empty. It is full of hidden movement. Something has been unfolding behind closed doors while you believed nothing was happening at all. And tonight, heaven is pulling the veil back just enough for you to understand why this person cannot escape you no matter how hard they try. There is a reason they keep returning to thoughts of you at the strangest hours. A reason your name slips into their mind while they are pretending to focus on other things. A reason they suddenly become distant from everyone around them after hearing even the smallest reminder of you. Because your presence did something irreversible inside them. You awakened a version of their heart they thought had died a long time ago. Listen carefully now. The world sees them one way. Strong, controlled, unbothered, maybe even emotionally unavailable. But that image is beginning to crack in private. Because behind closed doors, they are carrying emotions so intense they no longer know how to organize them. And child, you are at the center of all of it. Do you know what truly terrified them? It was not simply the idea of loving you. It was the realization that losing you suddenly felt unbearable. That realization arrived quietly, not during a dramatic moment. Not during some perfect romantic scene. It arrived in silence, in absence, in the moments when they noticed your energy was no longer reaching toward them the same way it once did. That is when panic quietly entered their spirit, because humans often fail to recognize the value of warmth until they begin feeling its disappearance. And your warmth, your attention, your emotional presence became something they depended on more than they realized. You must understand this deeply. Some people become addicted to chaos because chaos is familiar. But then they meet someone peaceful, someone genuine, someone emotionally safe, and suddenly they no longer know how to survive without that feeling. That is exactly what happened here. You became peace to a restless heart. And once someone experiences real peace, artificial connections begin to feel exhausting. This is why they started withdrawing from others recently. Why conversations around them feel empty. Why distractions no longer work the way they used to. Because deep inside, their spirit keeps searching for the feeling they only experienced with you. There is something else you do not know. They talk about you more than you realize. Not directly every time. Sometimes indirectly. Sometimes through random questions. Sometimes through small comments nobody else notices. But your presence enters conversations even when they try to avoid it. One day recently, someone close to them noticed the change immediately. They asked, "Why do you look different whenever this person comes up?" And child, for a moment they could not even speak, because the truth almost escaped. The truth that your existence affects them emotionally in ways they cannot control anymore. There are nights when they replay your conversations word for word, trying to decode hidden meanings, trying to understand whether you ever felt the same intensity they feel now. And the more they think about you, the more emotionally undone they become. This connection has reached a dangerous stage, not dangerous in darkness, dangerous in depth, because feelings kept hidden too long eventually overflow. And their emotions are reaching that point now. There is something they have been resisting admitting even to themselves. Something that started as curiosity, then attachment, then longing. But now it has become love so deep it frightens them. Not shallow love, not temporary fascination. The kind of love that changes someone's habits, changes their thoughts, changes the way they see their future. That is why they became inconsistent. Because part of them wanted to run toward you, while another part feared the vulnerability required to truly love someone this much. And child, every time they tried creating distance, the universe pushed them back toward thoughts of you again. A song, a dream, a random memory, an old message, your name appearing unexpectedly. your energy arriving in their spirit without warning. These moments became impossible to ignore, especially recently, because heaven has intensified everything. The signs, the emotional pull, the longing, the restlessness. Something is accelerating now. Can you feel it? There is a reason your intuition has been louder lately, a reason your emotions shift unexpectedly at night, a reason your spirit keeps circling back toward this connection even when your mind tries to move elsewhere. Souls communicate long before mouths do, and theirs has been calling out to yours constantly, even in silence, especially in silence. Child, there is one memory that completely changed everything for them, a moment you probably considered ordinary, but to them, it became unforgettable. You were hurting, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, and instead of making your pain everyone else's burden, you still chose kindness. You still chose softness. You still cared about others while carrying your own heaviness. That moment shattered something inside them, because they realized your heart was rare, not perfect, rare. There are many attractive people in this world, many charming people, many exciting people, but very few people carry emotional purity after suffering. That is what trapped their heart. Your ability to remain loving in a world that tried to harden you. And child, they have never stopped thinking about it since. That is why your absence hurts them more now. Because once someone encounters genuine emotional depth, superficial attention no longer satisfies them. They tried distracting themselves. They tried focusing elsewhere. Tried convincing themselves this connection was temporary. But every road somehow led back to you. Back to your energy. Back to your voice. Back to the feeling they experienced when they were near you. There are moments they stare at their phone wanting to reach out, but fear freezes them. Fear that you moved on. Fear that you no longer care. Fear that they waited too long to say what should have been said earlier. And yet, despite all those fears, their love continues growing, quietly, powerfully, relentlessly. This is why they have become emotionally exhausted lately, because suppressing real feelings drains the soul, especially when those feelings are tied to destiny. Yes, child, destiny, not fantasy, not illusion. There are some connections heaven allows specifically to awaken two souls at the exact moment they are ready for transformation. That is why this bond feels spiritually charged, because it is. And lately, they have begun realizing something terrifying. Nobody else feels like you. Nobody else touches their spirit the same way. Nobody else leaves behind the same emotional imprint. That realization changed everything. Because now they understand the risk of losing you permanently. And that fear has started consuming them. You may not see it outwardly, but internally, they are unraveling. Especially at night. Especially when they are alone. Especially when memories become louder than distractions. There was one night recently when they almost contacted you impulsively. Their emotions became overwhelming. Your memory hit them suddenly and intensely. For several minutes they stared at your name, fighting an internal battle nobody else could see. One side of them wanted to protect pride. The other side wanted to finally surrender to truth. And child, truth almost won. But something interrupted them before they could press send. Still, that moment changed everything. Because after that night, they could no longer deny what they feel. They are in love with you. Completely, deeply, almost painfully. And the strangest part is this. The more they try hiding it, the more obvious it becomes to people around them. Their energy changes when you are mentioned. Their attention shifts. Their eyes soften. Even their silence becomes revealing. Someone close to them already suspects they are emotionally attached beyond reason. And recently, a conversation happened that shook them deeply. A person asked them directly, "If this person disappeared forever tomorrow, would you regret staying silent?" Child. That question pierced straight through them, because suddenly they imagined life without you truly in it. No messages, no chance encounters, no future possibility, nothing. And the thought created panic inside their chest. That was the moment they realized this connection had become far more serious than they admitted. Since then, they have been thinking constantly about timing, about fear, about what they truly want, and more importantly, about whether you still have space in your heart for them. Listen carefully now, because this next part matters deeply. Heaven has not ignored your tears either. There were moments you questioned your worth. Moments you wondered why love always seemed complicated. Moments you almost convinced yourself to emotionally shut down completely. But you continued healing instead of hardening. And that decision transformed your energy. You became wiser, calmer, more spiritually aligned. That growth is exactly why this connection is intensifying now. Because healed energy attracts honest revelation. The version of you standing here today no longer chases confusion, no longer begs for clarity, no longer sacrifices peace for temporary affection. And child, that change forced this person to confront the possibility of truly losing you. Sometimes distance is the only thing powerful enough to awaken hidden truth. That is why their feelings exploded after separation. Because silence removed distraction. And once distractions disappeared, all that remained was love. Raw, unavoidable, unfinished. There is something else I must reveal. This person has imagined a future with you more times than they will ever admit publicly. Small scenes, simple moments, ordinary life beside you, conversations late at night, laughing together, protecting each other through difficult seasons. They imagine these things unexpectedly, and every time they do, the feeling becomes more real. That is what scares them most. Because for the first time in years, their heart is attached not just to a fantasy, but to a person who feels spiritually significant. You. And child, they believe meeting you changed their life, even if they never said it aloud. Especially if they never said it aloud. There is one final thing you must hear before this part ends. Something major is approaching this connection. I see emotional walls weakening. I see hidden feelings nearing confession. I see pride losing strength against love. And I see a moment coming soon where silence will no longer feel possible for them. But the revelation approaching is even deeper than you realize. Because this person is hiding one memory from you. One moment involving you that became sacred in their heart. A moment they never told you affected them this deeply. And when you finally learn what it was, you will understand why they have never truly been able to let you go. But child, that truth has not fully surfaced yet.